Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today's video. And again, I'm just a small YouTube creator. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button and subscribing for more, any support really goes a mile and helps push my videos out to more new listeners. And furthermore, let's jump into the video. This story is called The Woman at the Gas Station. This is a true first-person story about a chilling night. It was the summer of 1990, deep in central Florida. Hot, humid, and still. I was 15 years old, just learning how to drive. My dad, an army vet, and he would let me drive him to and from work every day to practice my skills behind the wheel. We lived in a small town that barely showed up on the map. One road in, one road out. People didn't lock their doors, and nothing really ever seemed to happen. One night, however, we pulled into the gas station where my father worked the evening shift. It was just past 9 p.m., and the sun had finally dipped below the trees, leaving a dim orange glow across the sky. I stayed in the office, reading a comic book behind the counter, while he swept the lot outside. Then, the bell above the door chimed. I looked up. A woman had entered, alone. She looked rough, not just tired, but worn down by life. Dirty jeans, old boots, a canvas jacket that was too heavy for the weather. Remember, this is in Central Florida during the summer months. She had blonde hair. It was matted with sweat. And she didn't walk in like a customer. She walked in like she owned the place. She didn't buy anything. She didn't look around. She just stared at me. Not like, oh, hey, a kid works here. No. Her eyes narrowed, calculated, like she was trying to figure something out. I felt it immediately in my gut. I still remember that chilling feeling that crawled up the back of my neck. I looked down at my book and I pretended not to notice, but my eyes kept darting up to see if she was still staring at me. Then my dad came in. Instantly, she turned her attention to him. Hey, she said, you headed north? He shook his head. Not tonight. She said, I just need a ride to Ocala. Just up the road. You look like the helpful type. My dad's face didn't change, but I could see something in his body language that shifted. It was subtle, like when animals go still just before they run. She looked at me. What about him? Can he drive? My stomach dropped. My dad cut in quickly. He's just a learner. He can't drive without me. Sorry. The woman's eyes narrowed again, like she didn't like hearing a no. Then she smiled, but it wasn't friendly. Fine, she muttered. Forget it. She turned and stormed out, slamming the door hard enough that the windows rattled. My dad and I stood frozen. Then he walked over, locked the door, and pulled the blinds shut. He didn't say anything for a while. Just went back to work like nothing ever happened. But I just kept thinking about her. That face, that stare. She vanished into the night. No cars, no flashlight. Just walked off towards the interstate. 1 year later, it was the morning of my 16th birthday. I was sleeping in when my dad bursted into my room. "Son, get up. You need to see this." He was holding the remote. The news on the TV. A mugshot filled the screen. That face. Her face. Her name was Aline Wuornos. She had just been arrested and charged with murdering 7 men across Florida. All of them picked her up while she was hitchhiking. All of them dead. We didn't say much that day. We didn't have to. If my dad had been a little more trusting, if I had driven her just a few miles up the road, if I'd said yes instead of standing there frozen, I might not have been here to tell this story. What I learned: trust your gut, listen to your instincts, and if someone makes your skin crawl, don't ignore it. You're not being rude, you're staying alive. Part 2. A background on Aileen. Born February 29th, 1956. She was a leap year baby. She died October 9th, 2002. She was executed by lethal injection. Who was she? Aileen was a former sex worker who murdered 7 men in Florida between 1989 and 1990. So in 1 year, she murdered 7 men. She claimed they had all tried to assault or rape her, and said she acted in self-defense. However, the court did not believe her. The victims, all were men, most were middle-aged. She targeted men who picked her up while she was hitchhiking. She shot them at close range, often with a .22 caliber pistol, and stole their belongings. Her background: she was born in a troubled family. Her father was a convicted child molester who hanged himself in prison. She was abandoned by her mother and raised by her grandparents. She became pregnant at 14 after being sexually assaulted. She then became homeless, drifting and working as a sex worker from a young age. Her mental health: she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, displayed extreme emotional instability and paranoia in interviews and in court appearances. Who was her lover turned witness? She was in a romantic relationship with a woman, yes, a woman, named Tyra Moore, who later turned state witness against her. Tyra called Aileen and convicted her to confess on tape. This was a key piece of evidence in her conviction. What was her cultural impact? The film Monster in 2003. Charlize Theron won an Oscar for portraying her. So there was a movie after her called The Monster, and an Oscar-winning award was given to that movie. Of course, documentaries: Aileen's life and death of a serial killer, The Selling of a Serial Killer by Nick Broomfield, media debates: was she a cold-blooded killer or a broken victim of abuse, neglect, and survival instincts? Trial and execution: she was convicted in 1992, sentenced to death, and executed in 2002 at the age of 46. What were her last words? I quote, "I'll be back like Independence Day. With Jesus, June 6th, like the movie, Big Mothership and all, I'll be back. The story was controversial. You know, the last words were menacing. And whatever you choose to believe, we all know that there were 7 victims through her violence. However, we cannot neglect her troubling upbringing. But there is a silver lining. This has brought much attention and has made impacts through the communities in a positive way. But I hope that everyone has enjoyed this chilling story, and I hope that you all tune in for more and subscribe. I hope you have a chilling night.